welcome to Lilybug's Library. I'm Linda. So we are on day 23 of our Advent calendar. Can you believe it? We're almost done. So I will bring it up here and we'll see what we have left. So we have a bell and a stocking. So today's the bell. So I reached inside this time to open it up. So let's see what we have. All right, and I'm gonna check it over here so Sebastian can't get it. And this one is called Festivity. Love the names. It has rubus, calendula, safflower, cocoa nibs, orange peel, orange extract, and chocolate extract. Maybe it'll taste like a Terry's chocolate orange. That would be nice. All right, so I gotta get it open. All right, and we will pour it into the tea ball. Oops, it's leaking out the holes of the tea ball, so some of it's apparently little tiny bits. So that might end up in my teacup, but these things drive me crazy trying to get the thing back in. There we go. Okay, so we'll put it in our cup. And it's one of those floater ones, so we'll have to leave it in there for a bit. And while we do, I'm going to talk about my 10 best reads, 10 best reads for 2023. Not in any particular order. And before I do, I just want to say a little bit about how much I've read. So I started out the year, I think I had, on my Goodreads challenge, I think I had 35 or 45 books, something like that, to read for the year. And then I started this YouTube channel and started to read a lot more, and I was off work, and all those things kind of came together. And I read 140 books so far this year. Probably have a couple more before the year's end, but pretty close. So out of those, I've read 33 5-star books, 35 4-star books, 35 3-star books. Kind of weird that they're all in the 30s like that. 5 2-star books, 2 1-star books, and I have DNF'd 16 of them. And yes, that doesn't add up to 140. I'm still missing 12, which apparently I didn't rate yet. So I thought that was interesting. So we will talk about some of those. Before we do, I have to tell you about my day yesterday because my kitchen is an absolute disaster. I worked all day, and then I had been making a ton of food for different things, and so everything was still kind of a mess in the kitchen to begin with. And then my daughter and her family came over with the grandkids, and we decorated the tree. We decorated some Christmas cookies and some gingerbread villages, and that was, by the time they left, I was exhausted. And it just, nothing had happened in the kitchen last night. So I have pots, I have pans, I have bits of gingerbread and sprinkles, and so after we're done here, that will be my next chore before work, is trying to clean up that kitchen. So, but it was fun. It was totally worth it. So those are the good parts of Christmas. All right, so one thing before we get to the list is I did finish a book that I didn't mention, I guess. It was called A Mother for Christmas, and that was one of the ones I said was probably going to make me cry. It didn't, but it did have some very sweet moments in it. So it's about this man named Decker, and he has 30 days until Christmas Eve to try and get this house that he bought, or is buying, into good shape. So the woman who lives there is going into a retirement home, but she won't sell it to him unless he can make her kind of last Christmas Eve in it special and have everything fixed in this house. So anyway, he takes on the challenge. He hires this woman named Annalise, and usually he doesn't, she's not his usual decorator. Usually he hires a different one, but she was busy, she was getting married, so she suggested Annalise. And so he said, okay. So Annalise shows up to help him decorate. Well, Decker has a child that he's very protective of, and her name is Sophie, and she has been adopted, and but that's not something he really talks about. And his wife has passed away. Of She was ill and passed away, and so he's raising Sophie on his own. So that's part of the reason why he's so protective. And so Annalise shows up, and Annalise had a daughter, and her husband, or ex-husband now, but I don't know if he was, I think he was her husband at the time. He and his mother were quite wealthy, and they got together and took the child from Annalise and had it adopted out. And so it's you can kind of see where it's going, but anyway, it's her kind of inserting herself into the home and helping with the decorating and starting to fall for Decker, and Decker, being very wary of anyone who's coming around his daughter. And so anyway, it was good. I'd give it about 4 stars, only because it was close to 5 stars, but there were times that the snipping between the two of them kind of bugged me a little. So anyway, 4 stars is still good. So with the 10 for 2023, it was a hard one because there were a lot of really good ones. A lot of those 5-star ones, could definitely make that list. But I tried to choose the ones that I thought about the most afterwards. So we'll go with that. So the first one is Murders of a Feather, part of the Dr. Kate mysteries. So Dr. Kate discovers this young engaged couple frozen in the lake, and her temporary receptionist also ends up getting killed. Looks like she overdosed from some kind of sedative. So she doesn't know what's going on, but she knows that she's kind of in the middle of this mystery. And she spends time talking to her grandfather on the phone about some of these things, and trying to get his take on it as she's trying to solve this. And she's a vet for small animals, but she also meets this vet who's a vet for large, like farm animals, and they become close. So it's a really good mystery, something, different because of the fact that it takes place as a vet. And, I personally haven't read a lot of vet mysteries, so I really like that one. The next one was 3 Holidays and a Wedding, which I reviewed not too long ago. So it was definitely 5 stars. Really enjoyed it. So it's Miriam Aziz and Anna Gibson, and they're flying to Toronto over the holidays. So Miriam is going there with her whole family because her sister is going to get married. And then Anna is going there to meet her boyfriend, because his parents live there, and it's supposed to be this big celebration with him and his parents. So it turns out it doesn't work out quite the way they're hoping and thinking, because there's a big storm and they end up having to land someplace they didn't expect. So that one was really good. The next one is The Women by Kristen Hanna, and I know that when I read it, I just gushed over it because it was so amazing. Um, so it's this nursing student, Frankie McGrath, who decides that she's going to enlist in the Vietnam War as a nurse, and her parents don't want her to, but her brother's over there, and she's tired of just sitting on the sidelines. She wants to be able to help. And even as being a nurse, before she goes over there, she's not doing the help that she wants to do. So she picks up and heads to Vietnam to follow in her brother's footsteps. And it's all about her time in Vietnam and what she goes through. Okay, before we do any more, I'm going to test the tea. Yeah, I was right. It ended up with all kinds of little bits in the bottom, but we'll go for it. It's good. I can taste the chocolate. Can smell it too, but it's still sweet. And I know cocoa nibs are not sweet. What did I say was in it besides cocoa? Let's see. Oops, I'm knocking things over. There we go. Okay. Oh, it's the orange, I think, that is probably making it a little bit sweet. Orange peel and orange extract. So that's probably helping. And I think what ended up in the bottom of my cup is probably safflower because it's basically just little tiny orange strings almost. So it definitely would make its way through a tea ball, I'm sure. Yeah, it's good. Probably a 4 to 5. All right, so the next one was called "Part of Your World," and it was really sweet. It was this woman who ends up, I think her car breaks down. Her name's Alexis, and she ends up in this small town. And she meets Daniel Grant, who's this carpenter who she really likes him and she likes just his attitude towards life. So they have this little exchange in this bar restaurant thing where she's sitting and he ends up, no, I think it's just a bar. So he ends up joking with her about different things. There's a bet on between him and his buddies whether he can, leave with her. And so she becomes part of the bet and she walks out the door with him just as a joke. But she ends up going to his house and having, he makes her this amazing grilled cheese sandwich, and you know, talks about how he looks after baby goats, and he's just really sweet. So it's all about the chemistry between them and the fact that he's this very much this country guy and she's a city girl. So anyway, they do a really good job of it, and it's not often that there's a main leading man in these books that I think is worth being a leading man, and he actually was really good, so I like that one. The next one is the Moonglow sisters. So there's three sisters, and they have fallen out with each other and all gone their separate ways. So one of them was about to get married. The other one ended up kind of breaking up the wedding by kissing the groom. Uh, and then the younger sister is kind of the peacemaker that keeps trying to bring them together. Anyway, it turns out their grandmother is not doing well, so she asks for them all to come home. So they do for her, but they're still not getting along. So it's them trying to kind of work out the past and what happened and trying to come together. And I really enjoyed that one. It was I like the ones that kind of have a bunch of different family members or they span a few generations, and I thought this one was really well done. Excuse me. So the next one was 2 part sugar, 1 part murder. And it hasn't been that long since I read that one, but it's Maddie Montgomery she's does everything over the internet. So she was gonna live stream her wedding. She has Instagram. She has all those things, and the groom ends up leaving her at not quite at the altar, but I think maybe it was at the altar. I think it was, or pretty close. So anyway, she's not feeling too great about life, and her great aunt, I think it's her great aunt, passes away, and it's either her aunt or her great aunt, I'm not sure. She passes away, and she leaves everything to Maddie. So she has the woman's house, her giant mastiff dog named Babe, and her bakery. So she ends up going to this small town to, for the reading of the will and all of this. And then one of the kind of catches of the whole thing is she has to stay there and run everything for a year before she actually gets it. And then after that, if she wants to sell it, she can. So it's her trying to, figure out kind of what's going on and if she really wants all of this and what happened to her Aunt Octavia, who supposedly just fell down some stairs, but she wants to see if that's really the truth. So it was really good. And I mean, like most cozies that have an animal that's a big part of it, they kind of steal the limelight sometimes, but it was really good and I really enjoyed it. So the next one I read near the, next few, I guess, I read near the beginning of the year. So it was Death by Dumpling, and that one was part of the Noodle Shop Mysteries. And Lana Lee had a brutal breakup, and so she ended up going home to the Cleveland area, it says. And so she decides she'll work in her parents' restaurant. She's going to wait tables. She'll do whatever it is that she needs to do. She just needs to be someplace where she feels comforted. But of course, as she ends up in this Asian village, she delivers noodles to this person who also works there, and this one day she delivers the noodles. He ends up dead. So of course they're thinking it came from her family's noodle shop, so it must be one of them. And so it's her trying to clear everyone's name and figure out what happened to this person. And then the last three, one was The High Five Habit by Mel Robbins. So Mel Robbins is a motivational speaker. She has books, she has YouTube, she has podcasts. She's, does a lot of stuff. But this High Five Habit was, I just thought it was really good. It was about celebrating yourself and how if you, give yourself a high five in the mirror every day and tell yourself you can do it, it lifts your spirits and gets you in the right mindset for the day, as opposed to, looking in the mirror and, thinking about how old you are and how miserable you feel. And then she also talks about the fact that, a high five is something that celebrates people. Like when you give someone a high five, you're celebrating them. And that has really good positive connotations to us. So when you do it for yourself, it has those same feelings. So it was really good. And then the next one was The Bookwoman of Troublesome Creek. And it's about Cussie Carter, who is supposed to be the last living female of these blue people that live deep in the woods in the Appalachian Mountains. So she ends up becoming this bookwoman who, I guess they actually had this program back in the 1900s. And she would, it's part of this library project, and she would ride along the creek beds and around through the woods to get to these families who had no other way to get to books. And she would deliver books to them every so often, and that was their way of still kind of being able to read a book and still have access to things that they didn't normally. Because they couldn't always afford to come into town. They didn't have a way to get to town, and just it was hard for them, in a lot of ways. And so this helped them. So that one was really good. And the other thing was excuse me while I just get rid of my phone making noise, because I should have done that before and I didn't. Okay, and then the last one, as you probably figured, and you knew it would be on there somewhere, is the Christmas Tree Farm series. So that one, I just chose the whole series because I've read all but one of them, which I'm reading now, and each one of them has been 5 stars. So I couldn't pick one or the other. I just chose the whole series. And so basically, it's Holly White and her family who run the reindeer games, and this inn that goes along with it, and a store that goes along with that. And it's they're in this town called Mistletoe, Maine, where everything is Christmas all the time, and really cute and cozy and very over the top Christmassy, which I love. And it's each book, there's been a different murder that Holly has helped to solve. And they've been, very inventive, and lots of participation with the people in the town. So she has a friend named Carolyn who runs the cupcake shop. She has Cookie, who is almost like a grandmother, and she has her own goat named Theodore that she named after her late husband. So just lots of cute things, and really well done. So the whole series I've really enjoyed. So those are my top 23 reads in top 10 reads in 2023. I wasn't going to sit here and do 23 of them. That's a lot. But but there were certainly 10 that were, really good. A lot of them, I can always tell when I've really enjoyed something because I keep thinking about it afterwards. And a lot of times I'm a little bit odd, I guess, with my Kindle because I don't tend to keep books on it once I read it. For the most part, I just get rid of them to, free up space for other books. But if it's something I really enjoyed, then I'll leave it on there in case I decide to reread it later. So those are ones I know I've enjoyed because they're still on my Kindle, and I expect at some point I will reread them. So last sip of the tea. Yeah, I really do like that one. It's like I said, I can definitely taste the chocolate in it. I can't really taste the orange, but I know it, because it is a bit sweet. I know that the orange, is coming through, but it's overwhelming the chocolate taste that I can get from it. So I liked it. And tomorrow we will also talk about all the different teas and how many got, 2 stars, 3 stars, or 2 or 3 cups, whatever we want to go with, and see how the whole calendar turned out. So I'm gonna go off and try and clean my kitchen and get ready for work. So talk to you later. Bye bye.